Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Rugby Borough Council's Cabinet today. My name is Councillor Seb Lowe, and I'm the chairman of this meeting. This meeting is being web streamed to the public through Microsoft Teams. So, I beg your pardon, it's being web streamed to the public and attended by members through Microsoft Teams. Before we begin working through the formal agenda, I will go through some rules on procedure. As set out in the introduction, the meeting is being web streamed to the public. This is being monitored by IT services. If at any point there are any streaming issues, then I will be informed and the meeting will be adjourned until such time that the technological issues can be resolved. If during the course of the meeting any member of the committee is having connection issues, there will be a short adjournment of up to 5 minutes to determine whether the connection issues can be resolved. If following the adjournment the connection issues cannot be resolved, then providing the meeting remains quorate, it will continue. It will be deemed that the member with connection issues has left the meeting and will no longer be able to participate. For all attendees, please switch off your microphones and cameras. For members of the committee, your microphones and cameras should be switched off unless you're speaking. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please use the raised hand function and wait for me to ask you to speak. The voting during virtual meetings will use the raised hand function. I will call on the Democratic Services Officer to confirm the vote. Are there any questions before we move into the formal agenda? I see no hands. I will now ask our Democratic Services Officer to confirm the attendees at this meeting. This will be for Cabinet members and opposition group leaders only. Your name will be called out, and can you please confirm your attendance?
Thank you, Chair. So Councillor Mrs Crane.
Present.
Councillor Lowe.
Present.
Councillor Poole.
Present.
Councillor Ms Robbins.
Present.
Councillor Mrs Simpson Vince.
Present.
Councillor Mrs O'Rourke.
Present.
Councillor Roodhouse.
Present.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. We will now move into the formal agenda. As soon as I can get it on my other device, which I now have, and item number 1 is the minutes. Are members of the Cabinet content for me to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of January 2021? Is anybody not content? I will take that everybody is content. Item number 2, apologies for absence. We have had an apology from Councillor Roberts this evening. Are there any other apologies, Executive Director?
There's no other apologies, Chair.
Thank you. And item number 3 is declarations of interest. Do we have any declarations of non-pecuniary interest as defined by the Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors? See no hands. And do we have any declarations of pecuniary interests? Again, no hands. And finally, anything under notice under section 106 Local Government Finance Act 1992, non-payment of community charge or council tax. I see no hands. Item number 4 is question time. Are there any questions from the public, Executive Director?
There are no questions, Chair.
Thank you. Moving on then to item number 5, finance and performance monitoring 2020 to 2021, quarter 3, which is with you, Councillor Robbins.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the 3rd report to Cabinet for the financial year 2020-21. Please note the position as at the 31st of December 2020. Members will note that there is very little difference to the 2nd report presented in January. Throughout this difficult and unprecedented year, the Council has been under severe financial pressure. However, I am pleased to report that through careful management and good administration and the generous grants from central government, the Council is in a much better position than it could have been, and indeed a much better position than many other councils up and down the country. However, the position does remain tenuous. At the last meeting, I reported the deficit to be taken from balances had reduced to 475,000. Thanks to further grant funding, I can today report this has been further reduced to 235,000. However, the difficult situation continues into 21-22 and the medium term, which is dealt with in the next agenda item. Members should note section 3 of the report and the total received from government to pass on to residents and local businesses. Since the 30th of September, an additional amount of £3,860 of COVID-19 funding has been received. And this gives a total to date of just under £40 million. And I am pleased to inform Cabinet that all requests for grants have now been paid. You will note that there are several carry forwards requested due to delays again caused by COVID-19, both in the General Fund and the HRA. The financial position of the HRA is stable. However, we will need to take 662,000 from balances as detailed in section 4.2. And if members have any questions, I will try and answer them, or if unable to do so, I will reply after the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins, for that very comprehensive summary. Do we have a seconder from the Cabinet?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thanks, Councillor Poole. And Councillor O'Rourke, do you wish to say anything on behalf of the Labour Group?
Yes, please, Councillor Chair. Can I start by thanking all of the officers for all the hard work? I mean, it's a very good report. It's very clear, very well laid out and easy to follow. However, I do sort of agree with the portfolio in terms of the challenges that we are facing, and they are really very difficult challenges. You rightly point out that the government's decision only to provide a one-year funding settlement and the reduction in our council tax base, along with the government's only funding 75% of COVID activities, has made it virtually impossible to forecast the financial impact of the pandemic over the coming months. That said, and the fact also that we've had to dip into our sort of reserves to cover, to make up the shortfall. And there's a likelihood, because we don't know what will be happening in the future, that we might have to do that again next year. I would like to ask the leader of the council if he thinks these uncertainties and financial challenges we are currently facing will lead. Will it be difficult for council, and will the future financial viability of this council possibly be at risk because we're not being given the 25% shortfall on COVID funding? We don't know what our financial settlements are now, like we used to for 3 years, and we know that the council-based tax is shrinking because people just can't afford to pay because they're struggling. On top of that, that's the one question to the leader of the council, sorry. The other thing is that I was looking at some of the performance indicators, and, there's a lot of stuff there, but, there's still a lot of unreported data and we know that there's a big gap there, and we really need to have a focus down on that. So I would like to know how we're addressing it. But there were some really concerning things about the sort of the handovers of keys and houses in terms of being in the red and the 95 days there, and the high sickness rates as well that increased quite a lot in the sort of last quarter according to the performance report. That's a couple of areas. There are some good news stories. I'm not going to be totally negative. There are some really positives there, and I see some of the areas are performing really well, and well done to those areas. But I'd just like to know how we're going to address those performance issues.
Shall I go first, Councillor Robbins?
Yeah, then I'll
deal with me, and then you can.
Okay.
Yeah. So look, thanks for your question, Councillor O'Rourke, and you're absolutely right to raise it. Clearly the financing of local authorities up and down the country is a pressing issue. However, I'm very pleased to say that we're in a far more fortunate position than most. We have ample reserves to dip into, and it is thanks to the way in which this council has managed its finances over the years running up to the pandemic that we are in that position. I would like to point out that it wasn't so very long ago, at the last time we had a budget setting meeting in the chamber, that both the opposition group wanted us to dip in very substantially to our reserves, and it was the decision of the Conservative group that we wouldn't do that in case there was a situation such as this that arose. I'm very sorry this situation has arose, but I am confident that we are in a robust enough financial position not to be as concerned as you have intimated, but I thank you for raising your concerns. Councillor Robbins.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I am aware there are some gaps in the performance monitoring, and officers are also aware of this. It is being looked into and dealt with, but you must be aware that during the last 12 months, it's been extremely difficult for staff. They have been diverted to various other areas to do with COVID-19. So there are some gaps that have not been fulfilled. I am onto it, Councillor O'Rourke. I am aware of it, and we will get everything up to date as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Can I just also say you have dipped into the next item agenda, so I'll deal with that as we come to it.
Thank you. So we have a proposer and a seconder for item 5. Could I ask members of the Cabinet to indicate whether they support item 5 by raising their hand, please?
Excuse me, Councillor.
My apologies, Councillor Roodhouse.
Oh, no.
I apologise to you sincerely. Please, go ahead.
I'm just one of those opposition guys, you know. Sorry about that. But it's Monday, so hey. And got carried away with everything. Like Councillor O'Rourke has touched upon some of the points, but I think the report that's in front of us is quite clear in the heavy bold type, where finance officers have made clear about some of the risks that are facing the council. And one of the concerns is assurances around the GLL contract for the leisure centre. And I'm just wondering if I could have an update on that and how we are with that, because the loss of income is quite clearly stated in the report, and the loss of income to the council. So that's point one. The other one is the voids on housing, I think is concerning, and I know it's been raised at scrutiny and elsewhere, but I think we do need to, if you like, get underneath the bonnet and have a look at this. And likewise, I've noticed and have raised it before at previous meeting, the grievance angle and the performance management on HR. And that's all I wanted to say, Councillor Lowe.
Thank you, Councillor Roodhouse. The GLL is actually something else that we are in the process of discussing. It's being looked in again very carefully, and a report will come back at a later date regarding that. I don't know if Councillor Lowe wants to say anything further on that.
Sorry to interrupt. Do we know what that later date is, Councillor Robbins?
No, but I can get you a confirmed date later in the week, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Yeah.
Could I just come in on that, please, Councillor Robbins? And Councillor Simpson-Vince has also indicated that she wishes to speak. I don't think we can give you a precise date at the moment, Councillor Roodhouse, but it is imminent. Confidential discussions have been taking place, and as soon as we're in a position to give you a full brief on that, then we will very happily do so. Councillor Simpson-Vince, did you wish to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was just saying the discussions are going on at the moment. We're hoping that we can try and get it to the next cabinet, depending on how those discussions go. So it is something that's very much ongoing at the moment.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Okay, are we now able to move to a vote of members of Cabinet with, once again, my sincere apologies to Councillor Roodhouse? Could all those please in favour raise their hands? And Claire, that looks unanimous to me. Are you able to confirm?
Sorry, Chair, I think my screen may have frozen because I can only see 2 hands, but if you can see 5, then that's unanimous.
I can see Councillor Robbins, Councillor Poole, Councillor Simpson-Vince, myself, and there's a 4th mystery hand, which I'm guessing must be Councillor Crane.
Then that's unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Item number 6, then, we have the Draft General Fund Revenue and Capital Budget 2021 to 2022 and Medium Term Financial Plan 2021 to 2025, which is with you again, Councillor Robbins.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think we've touched on this already. As stated in the previous reports, the financial position of Council remains very tenuous. The current position is showing a balanced budget for 21-22 due to the work of the Financial Department under John Illingworth, and I must thank them all for this. This is quite an achievement. This is only achievable, however, if the key decisions shown in the tables on page 4, table 4, page 8 of the report are approved. And as I've always said at this time of year, should members be mindful to disagree with these decisions, they must find savings or the equivalent amount elsewhere. And although we are presenting a balanced budget for 21-22, as has been touched on by Councillor O'Rourke, we are looking to a very difficult situation in the medium term. Indeed, we are looking at finding £3 million over the next 12 months. So members must be very much aware. We must prepare for some very difficult decisions over the coming year. We have strong and healthy reserves, as the leader has already explained. But members should be aware that taking funds from balances is not sustainable. So they must be replaced with a sustainable income that will increase the revenue baseline. Should members have any questions again, I will endeavour to answer them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins. Do we have a seconder from Cabinet, please?
I'll do it again, Chair.
Thanks, Councillor Poole. Councillor O'Rourke.
Thank you, and thank you to the portfolio holder, and again thank you to the officers. It is a very detailed report, and it doesn't make happy reading, to be honest with you. And I don't feel particularly happy about moaning all the time about things. But you know, I know that we're all working really hard. I know that none of us want to be in this situation, and you know, I do feel that we do need to keep the pressure on the government, because we do need more funding, and you know, we can't keep on taking these cuts, you know, and not being funded properly, and not, you know, having to find 25% extra on the COVID or whatever it might be. It just, you know how I feel. It's just not fair. It really is not fair. And I know we have to have a balanced budget. I know all of that, but you know, sometimes we have to sort of think, well, actually, it might cost a bit of money in the long term, but it will save us a lot of money for the whole of the future. So, you know, it's not always, I feel like it's short term. The whole way things are being dealt with at national level at the moment, it's short term. And, you know, having 1 year settlements, it's just impossible. It really is impossible. We're fighting with one hand behind our arms at the moment. And I would continue to ask the leader of the council and the cabinet to lobby local government, please.
I can assure you, Councillor O'Rourke.
Councillor Robbins, can I just come in there, please?
Yep, sure you can.
Councillor O'Rourke, first of all, I must say I wholeheartedly agree with what you just said, and I can assure you that I will continue to lobby central government in order to improve our financial position. We're not in this position through any fault of our own, but I can assure you that this council will do whatever we can in order to plug the gap that has been identified by Councillor Robbins. And Councillor Robbins, would you like to pick up the rest of the answer now?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I totally agree. It isn't a good position to be in. The only thing I can say is that we are in a much better position than many other councils, because we have been prudent, because we have put money aside. We are able to balance our budgets. And as you say, this cannot go on forever. As I've already said, it's not sustainable. We do need to find other funding streams, and that is what we're going to be working on over the next 12 months. And of course, we will continue to lobby government. That's all I can say at the moment, but I do agree with you. It is not sustainable.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Councillor Roodhouse.
Thank you very much. I totally agree with everything that's been said. I think my views on local government finance are well known. And yes, we do need to keep lobbying. One of the concerns I have, as it's noted in the report, is around the assumed 1% pay award. And there are rumours going around that 1% pay award is not going to be 1%. In fact, it'll be higher, and the unions negotiate, of course, directly with local government. So it doesn't matter what the Chancellor says in having a pay freeze. That's can't be done, because he didn't understand that actually the way that it works is separate to all the other public servants that he was referring to. So I'm just wondering how much of a risk that is going forward, and how close we are to those discussions, because I'm presuming even just a 0.5% on the wage bill would have quite a bit of an effect not only this year, but of course into the medium term, where we have the 2.7 million saving to be found next year.
You're quite right, Councillor Roodhouse, and that is something that we are looking at with regards to the risk. And you're absolutely right in what you said, but it is something that we will have to keep our eye on and manage as and when it happens, when we know exactly what the pay rise is. But yep. Sorry, I clicked my microphone off then. Yes, I agree with you. It is a difficult situation. The whole situation is very difficult. And if there is a 1% pay rise, then that is going to have to be dealt with.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Robbins. I will now put this to a vote of Cabinet. Could all those in favour please raise their hand? And Claire, I'm not sure whether you're still having your screen issues, but that looks unanimous to me.
I'm afraid I am still having issues, Chair. So if you
No
can see
problem.
5 hands up.
I will.
Yeah.
I can see 4. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus my own makes 5. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Let us move on then to item number 7, which is preventing homelessness in Warwickshire, a multi-agency approach, which is with you, Councillor Crane.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this report is to approve the adoption of a county-wide homelessness strategy focusing on prevention, and it's recommending the approval of the strategic vision and recommendations in the strategy and a multi-agency approach. And it's also to support the homelessness strategic group to develop the action plan. I just wanted to say I think this is an excellent report, and I really very much welcome this collaborative approach on such an important issue. The ability to share expertise and initiatives, and also just thank you to the officers in Rugby who contributed and wrote the financial inclusion chapter of the strategy. So thank you, Chair, and happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Crane. Do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thanks, Councillor Simpson-Vince. And Councillor O'Rourke.
Yes, thank you. And yes, Councillor Crane, it is an excellent report. Well done to the officers. This is quite ironic, really, that there's such good collaborative working has been brought about by a pandemic, but it just does show what you can do when you have to do it, you know, and we have to deliver. It is really positive, and I hope, you know, we go forward in this way once we do get through the pandemic, and that we ensure that we deal with rough sleeping once and for all, and it's not going to keep on coming back. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, Councillor Crane.
Oh, no, I was just going to say thank you to Councillor O'Rourke.
Okay, and Councillor Roodhouse.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think Raj and who's also led on this at a county level, I think with the other officers, has produced a very good strategic document, some very good basis on there. I suppose better declare an interest as Health Watch Warwickshire, as they did some work around this document as well. I think there still are plenty of issues around homelessness and pressures that are being placed on individuals. One is GP surgeries, for instance, don't always are willing to sign up homeless people, which they're obliged to do. The other one, which as Councillor Crane will be aware of, I sent a document through to her today from a charity called Beam that are looking to come out of London and do further work around, and hopefully it's something that we could look at and possibly pilot in Rugby. It's a charity that supports homeless people getting back into work through crowdfunding and having one-to-one peer work as well. So hopefully it's something that we could explore.
Thank you, Councillor Roodhouse, and yes, thank you for drawing it to my attention. I will certainly have a look at it, and it does sound like an interesting proposal.
Okay, and I will now put this to a vote of Cabinet. Could everyone who supports this please raise their hand? Councillor Crane, I think you may have accidentally lowered your hand.
Yeah, apologies.
Unless you decided not to support your own measure. That looks unanimous to me, Claire. I see 5 hands raised, including my own.
That's unanimous then, Chair.
Thank you. And then staying with Councillor Crane, we have the Draft Housing Revenue Account Capital and Revenue Budgets 2021 to 22 and Medium Term Financial Plan 2021 to 25.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is the final draft HRA revenue and capital budgets and medium term plan for the next 5 years. And it's to ensure that we have earmarked balances to enable us to continue with the work to regenerate By Art and Rounds Gardens and many other needs of the Homes and Communities portfolio. So I'm not going to say a great deal more about this evening, but I think Councillor Robbins has already talked about the difficult times for the council, and it's very important that we have robust plans going forward. So thank you. And any questions, happy to take.
Thank you. Before we go to the questions, can I have a seconder from the Cabinet, please?
I'll second that, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Robbins. And Councillor O'Rourke, I'll come to you.
Thank you. And thank you for the report. Again, very detailed. Thank you, officers, for all your hard work. It is appreciated. I mean, there is some really positive stuff in there. I suppose the question for me is, are we going to be able to deliver everything that's been identified in there? Some of the big projects like Byatt Place and Rounds Garden, is everything on time? Are we able to deliver within what we first recognised would be quite challenging, but given all the things that we're facing now, is that likely to slip at all, the timetable?
Thank you, Councillor O'Rourke. I mean, obviously there are many challenges with the COVID pandemic, and none of us know what's going to happen in this coming year. But from the updates from officers, I understand that works are now, back to progressing, and there were some hold-ups, I believe, during the course of last year. But I think we hope that things will continue on schedule, and we very much hope that. But I think, we don't really know what's ahead this year with the pandemic. We can only hope that works can continue. But I know the team have been doing a great job, and the updates, things are moving.
Sorry, there was one other thing. The investment in the investment that we're making in terms of improvements to homes. Do you think that's sufficient, or if we had more money? Because it seems to me that a lot of our housing stock is getting quite old now, and I know we've spent a lot of money. We certainly have spent a lot of money over the last few years, but are we going to have enough to continue that investment in the future?
Well, I very much hope so, and this is a robust plan over the next few years to allocate what is needed over the next few years to maintain that high standard.
Thank you.
Okay, and Councillor Roothouse.
Thank you. I recognise Councillor Crane will probably say a bit more tomorrow night at full council about this particular item, and explain a bit more about the pressures and the good work that the housing department and people have been doing around that. I think there are some difficult times ahead, borrowing money and the rest of it, but no doubt we'll all say a bit more tomorrow night at full council when we can discuss the rent increase and the particular future financial plan.
Councillor Crane is nodding, and I think that is probably the only response that we're going to get this evening. So,
yeah, thank you, Chair.
In that case, let us move on to a vote. Can I ask all members of the Cabinet who support this to raise their hand, please? That is unanimous. Claire, that is 5 hands.
Thank you, Chair. That is unanimous.
Thank you. We now move on then to item number 9, which is the review of the Home Environment Assessment and Response Team project, which is again with you, Councillor Crane.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This report is endorsing approval for an improvement plan for the HEART project, and it's following an independent review of the service. The project's overseen by Nuneaton and Bedworth Borough Council, and some issues were found mainly regarding to do with the IT system and some certain staffing and capacity issues. And this report has made recommendations which will be carried out via this action plan. So this report very much welcome the action plan and look forward to updates on that and seeing how it's progressing over time.
Thank you. And can I have a seconder from the Cabinet, please?
I'm happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson-Vince. And Councillor O'Rourke, do you wish to say anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. And Councillor Roodhouse, do you wish to say anything?
Just a couple of things which may have implications on things going forward, because of course the contract and everything's all coming up for renewal on one thing and another. And there's quite a strong rumour that's going around Warwickshire at the moment because of Warwick District Council and Stratford District Council now creating a super district council for the area, that they don't want to take part in HEART anymore. And that rumour is growing every time I seem to speak to somebody about HEART.
That's not a rumour I'm aware of, Councillor Roodhouse, so I can't comment on that.
Okay. I will now put this to a vote of Cabinet. Can all the members of Cabinet who support this please raise their hands? Councillor Crane, you've lowered your hand again.
Apologies, I don't know what's happening. There's a hand malfunction.
I think we can assume Councillor Crane supports this, and I'm pleased to say it is unanimous. The rest of the Cabinet has also indicated their support. Fine. In that case, we have on block a motion to exclude the public under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972 to consider the following resolution under section 100A(4) of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the meeting for the following items on the grounds they involve the likely disclosure of information defined in paragraphs 1 and 3 of Schedule 12A of the Act. I'll move that from the Chair. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That is unanimous. Can I ask IT to close the live stream, please, and confirm to me when it has been done?